Saudi authorities have been talking for the last year for an IPO of the Saudi Aramco, that's the state oil company of Saudi Arabia, is the world's largest oil producer. And they said that they were hoping a valuation for the whole company of about $2 trillion. And obviously that will mean that the 5% that they are seeking to sell next year, that will be about $100 billion of equity raising. Compare that to Alibaba, the Chinese company, so far the largest ever IPO that raised about $25 billion. So it will be like 4 times. Over the last 3 months, while Maddie, my colleague, and myself, we have been talking to industry executives, analysts, and consultants, and investors, and asking them what they think that the Aramco is value and how they are doing the mathematics. The numbers that they are coming is anywhere between 400 billion and $1 trillion, potentially a big company, but not certainly as much as the Saudi authorities are hoping for.
And do we know how the authorities in Saudi Arabia are calculating, the numbers, or running the numbers? Do they know something that some of these analysts don't? I mean, do they have access to proprietary information?
Well, obviously, valuing Aramco is a very complicated exercise because the company is very secretive, has never published a financial statement, and it has not disclosed the kind of Wall Street audits that investors like to see. So all these calculations are a bit of back-of-the-envelope numbers that investors and analysts are trying to make. But one of the main reasons that the Saudis feel that the valuation is that high, $2 trillion, is because they are calculating the amount of the reserves that the company has. With 260 billion barrels of reserves, that's about 10 times what ExxonMobil reserves are. But investors rarely value oil companies on the basis just of the reserves. What they want to see is what is the cash flow and what is the ability to pay the dividend. And here is a problem. Saudi Aramco faces very big taxes. It pays a 20% royalty, and on top of that, it pays an 85% tax income. The Saudi authorities have said that they will lower the taxation, and that could increase the valuation that investors and analysts are giving us today. But at current numbers, the $2 trillion looks very high.
What would it mean for Saudi Arabia itself if indeed it does IPO, and we know it has underwriters now, it's chosen them, and it does come in at half or less than what it had been looking for?
Well, this is a very important plan because it's not just about IPO Saudi Aramco. There is a whole regeneration of the economy that is centered about the IPO. They want to use the proceeds of the IPO to build a big sovereign wealth fund similar to the ones in Kuwait and United Arab Emirates. And that is the plan that is called Saudi Vision 2030. If the IPO doesn't raise the amount of money that the Saudi authorities were expecting, probably the rest of the plan is a bit on shaky ground. So I think it's very important for the Saudis that the IPO goes ahead and they get the valuation that they are hoping. But how they convince investors to pay that big number, that's a big question mark that I have not got the answer yet. And certainly Aramco declined to comment for our story.